Hey guys and gals, this is DJ Wolf. This is the first new podcast video of the year that I'm doing. And it's ironic that the one that I'm doing is talking about what everybody else is talking about. Tiffany Haddish. Let me get into it, shall we? This is DJ Wolf Live, the first new episode for 2019. Alright guys and gals, just 1 second here while I try to get myself cleared up. Alright, first thing first. Want to welcome you to 2019. I hope everybody had a nice and safe, great new year, ringing in the new year. Hope all is well. Before I get into the thing about Tiffany, I found that the things are clearing up at home, so hopefully it'll only get better. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll probably be doing a couple of podcasts live from Seatown when I get up there later this week. So I'll let you know. All right, now I was watching a YouTube video from Comedy Hype. Give them a shout out, Comedy Hype on YouTube. They were the ones where I first learned this from, and I didn't really get a chance to talk about it. And I was going to do a live podcast on it last night and talk about it. I didn't feel like I had to deal with another situation last night. So anyway, so they were talking about Tiffany Haddish doing a New Year's show in Miami. And this was a big deal for her because she started her 2018-2019 tour and started in Miami. And she has a number of cities lined up. This was the first leg of the tour, the very first leg of the tour. That's what made it so bad. So anyway, she bombed, and bombs badly. She looked like shit. I'm not gonna lie. She looked like pure shit in terms of her comedy game. She wasn't on point at all. She wasn't funny. And then the day of, she was talking about she had got drunk and was still tipsy and didn't even remember the venue. And this was on New Year's Eve morning, or whenever during the day, sometime on New Year's Eve. And she just sounded kind of coherent when she did the video, so she wasn't ready. And I can honestly say this: she's a better actress than she is a comedian. Now, I'm not going to lie about this also. I loved her in Girls Trip. I thought she was funny as hell. I thought it was probably one of the better roles that she did. And she was awesome. But wasn't feeling beyond that. She's not as funny as she tried to be. She's actually like the female version of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart sometimes can be funny, and then sometimes he's not. Kevin Hart used to be funny. He was funny in Paper Soldiers. I thought he was funny in Soul Plane and a couple other things he did. But I think he's more loud than anything else. He's not a bad comedian, but he's not a great comedian. Now, as far as his business sense of the game, he's on point. I don't care what anybody said. The business sense of the game, Kevin Hart is on his man. No doubt about that. I don't care what anybody says. Business side of the game, he's on point. Real talk. You can't take that away from this brother. You simply cannot take that away from Kevin Hart. No matter how hard you try, you can't take that away from him. But Cat Williams was right. Tiffany Haddish is not that funny. She's not. I mean, I've noticed it too. I saw some of her earlier stuff and she wasn't that funny. She tries too hard. From what I saw, she tries way too hard. And it's like, no, you're not that funny. You're really not. And I tell you who was funny. And I'll tell you that she was naturally funny was, as far as her stand-up, was Monique. The only problem I had with Monique was trying to beg to get her butter biscuits from Netflix. For a woman who's been in the game for a minute. She was begging to get on for Netflix to pay her. Like she was working for Netflix. She wasn't even working for Netflix. I mean, how you going to talk about, I demand to get this money? I was like, they don't have to give you anything. That's Netflix's choice. If they hired you, that's one thing. And they underpaid you, they never hired you. That was really, honestly, that was the problem I had with Monique. That was the only problem I had with Monique. Because she felt that Netflix should have been grabbing her before anybody else. But that's Netflix's decision on who they want versus who they don't want. That's up to them. That's their shot. You're not, and she was not an employee of Netflix. But she talking about, well, y'all need to boycott Netflix so I can get a bigger check. No. That's up to Netflix whether they want to hire you or not. That was the only problem I had with Monique. But I always said Monique was a funny comic. I would never take that away from her. She's funny as shit. She is. She's a very funny comic. But Tiffany Haddish is just fine as hell. Even without makeup, she's cute. But cuteness don't mean nothing if you in the game and you ain't bringing it. It means nothing. She's just a pretty face with no real game on the skin in comedy, other than the fact that she's got a pretty face for comedy that white people want to prop her up in. Now, let's be honest about that. I do think people are hating on her, and I've said it before, because she's out here. But there are some other comics who aren't even as funny as Tiffany Haddish. I'll say that. They aren't. But female comedians aren't really all that funny. I say one I will say, I think is funnier than Tiffany Haddish is Leslie Jones. I think she's really funny. I think Leslie Jones is very funny. I'm not gonna lie, she's funny as hell. Even in commercials, she had been cracking up. You want my number? I still crack up every time I see a commercial. But Leslie Jones, because she has a certain style about her, Hollywood ain't trying to bust doors down for her like they are Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish is only because she got a pretty face. But they know Leslie Jones is funny to her, and Leslie Jones is a funny comedian. She really is. But Tiff, you ain't ready for Hollywood in terms of stand-up. Your stand-up game is terrible. It has been for a long time. Kevin Hart lately has not been as funny either. Some YouTuber, who I'll leave nameless, is actually trying to prop y'all both up because of their association with him. And that person is funny. He's funnier than both of them. But, and I can understand because y'all kind of friends. He's kind of friends with y'all. So otherwise, I wouldn't get it. But I know that's the only reason he's caping for you. But Tiff, I have to admit, my homeboy Cat Williams is funnier than all three of y'all, to tell you the truth. He's just batshit crazy. That's all. But he's funny as hell. But he was definitely right about you. You ain't got no, when it comes to skin in the game of comedy, in terms of your stand-ups are terrible. And it's time for you to retool your stand-up, because otherwise, you don't retool your stand-up, you're going to be out there in the unemployment line right along with Monique, waiting to see when you're going to get that next call. This is DJ Wolf, and I'm out.